hate hospitals. A little story time about what happened last month. I was in there for only 2 days, but it happened to be a week of just unrelenting pain. So let me explain that. Maybe about a month ago, I started getting these weird headaches. And it all came about because I decided to play one of the world's most toxic games. And the sponsor of today's video, Raid Shadow Legends. No, I'm kidding. It was actually League of Legends. And if anybody knows anything about League of Legends, you know that it's probably one of the worst things you can do with your time. But I have this weird love-hate relationship with League where I love to play it, and I love the outplays and the characters, and the game itself I love. But it's so bad for you. Like, it's just, it's physically bad for you. I feel like that's like a drug, you know? Anyway, it was our last game of the night, and I was actually here, and I got this weird headache in the side of my head. And I'm not prone to headaches, so I was like, you know, whatever. We lost anyway, wanted to call it a day, went home, got some rest, got up the next morning, and when I sat up on the edge of my bed, it felt like somebody had poured wet concrete down my spine and into my underarm. And the pain just crashed over me, and I was like, oh, I'm probably gonna die right here. So I laid back down for about an hour or so, got back up, got my morning routine on, and the pain just would not subside. So that went on for about a week. And it got to the point where my mother was like, hey, you know, you should probably go to the emergency room. And again, I hate hospitals. I've always hated hospitals. I hate the smell, the running around, the beeping, someone's always in another room complaining about something. They're trying to take stuff out of you all the time and put stuff into it. I hate it. I hate it. Anyway, I'm in the ER, and I'm trying to explain to the receptionist what's going on with me. But now, with this, along with this headache, my sound is in my ears is doing like this back and forth whooshing kind of situation. And then my left ear has a really bad auto-tune going on. So I was really in dire straits. I really just wanted to lay down in the fetal position and not move. They ended up getting me the room. They told me, hey, we're gonna get you a CAT scan and everything, check and make sure you're okay, such and such, all the normal stuff. My mom came in after me because she wanted to check up on me, God bless her soul. And it was just awful there. It was just bad. The nurses and the doctors were really cool, but the hospital itself is just, I can't deal with that scene. So they run through the battery of everything. They're like, hey, we're gonna get you an IV, which I've never had an IV before. So I got a nice little, you know, IV attire, and the nurse was a new guy. So he initially tried in this arm to give me my IV, and it didn't work. I ended up with a fat bruise, whatever. Finally got the IV in on this side. They take me to get my CAT scan. They're like, hey, we got to get you robed up. I'm like, oh, great. So got my robe and everything, or gown, whatever you want to call it. Go down to the CAT scan, knock that out. Cool. Get my results back in about an hour. Inconclusive. I was like, cool. So what do we do from here? The doctor comes back. She's like, hey, we're going to get you an MRI. And I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. I definitely have money for that. So I think Google is just going off over there. All right, I think she's done. So yeah, they say, hey, we're gonna get you an MRI. I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely have money for that. Sure, let's do it. Go down, and they're like, hey, you know, have you ever had an MRI before? And in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, I've had a CAT scan. That's gotta be the same thing, right? It is not the same thing. One is a much bigger machine. They strap you in on this plastic harness, put a whole harness around your head, and the ladies were super nice. Like, hey, do you want to listen to some music, or do you want, a sedative before you go in there? It could take a minute. I'm like, nah, I'm fine. I'll just raw dog this whole thing because I'm an idiot. And when they put me in there, I realized that I had already made a mistake. So because of my massive frame and my shoulders are actually just, built like a Titan's, they couldn't put the actual padding material here. So I'm stuck in this harness with no padding material. There's like this plastic piece that's digging in the back of my skull, and I'm holding on to the bulb while I'm laying back just thinking, this would have been just so much easier if I had just laid in the fetal position for another week. Cut to the end, get my MRI done. Takes about, maybe 2 hours to get my results back. And I'm thinking, this is when they tell me that it's all over for me and I've got like a month to live. But they said all it was the thickening of the meninges, which is the outermost area of your brain. And so I thought, okay, is it meningitis? Do I have a tumor? It's not an aneurysm or anything like that. They said, no, it's not. And that's what it's so weird about it, because I don't have any tumors and didn't have any other like symptoms or anything. So it basically led to intracranial hypotension, which is a low pressure in my brain or around my brain. And I talked to the neurologist and he's like, yeah, it's possibly a CSF leak, which is basically there's a small hole somewhere and it's leaking cerebral fluid out of my head. And that's why my nose has been constantly like, I'm always sniffling, and I can feel when it happens. It's such a strange feeling because, like I said, the sound starts to muffle. I start feeling that wet cement feeling down my back and down my neck. And then I just get this pain, like just this full body, sit down, don't do anything, blink and breathe type pain. And it was just debilitating. So after the MRI, I'm like, cool, can I leave? And the doctor's like, no, we actually would rather you stay overnight just so we can observe you because your situation is kind of weird. I'm like, okay, cool, that's fine, whatever. My mom's freaked out because she's mom, and that's what moms do. I told her, I'll be fine. Luckily, I was fine. So I spent the day in observation, and the problem with observation is by that point, I really just wanted to go to sleep. I hadn't been to sleep in like 2 days up to that point. And when you're observation, about every 14 to 15 minutes, you've got somebody in your room either trying to feed you, draw something, write down something, ask you how you're feeling, give you some pills, whatever the case is. It was just an annoying thing. And then the head doctor there came in to speak to me, and she's like, hey, have you been up to walk? I was like, no, I've been trying to sleep. She's like, cool, I want you to get up and walk around. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I walked around, did a couple laps, whatever. And for whatever the reason, I don't know if it's just old sciatic damage from, my old job, but my hip felt like I was being stabbed. So I just laid there in pain from either my hip or my head. And at that point, I was just done. I kind of passed out. I didn't really go to sleep. I just remember laying back and then waking up about 2 hours later. I was like, I want out. So I had them discharge me. I talked to the neurologist. He's like, hey, chill out. I can't do much. Like, I can't squat anymore. I can't lift up heavy things, which is all I'm really known for, is being 6'5" and picking up heavy shit. And I can do like a little caffeine here and there because it's supposed to help with the headaches a little bit. Other than that, I can't really do much but relax and don't blow the hole in my brain back out. Which did happen yesterday, actually, when this earth-shattering sneeze decided to appear, and I didn't have any warning. So I just kind of full sent it, and next thing I know, my head was pounding again. So I had to go home early, got some more rest. Woke up this morning, though, and I'm good. So that's a plus. Oh. Gotta hydrate. That's another thing. I have to stay constantly hydrated. If the leak happens, it basically leaks all the way down, gets back into the lymphatic system, and then just flushes right back out. So I have to be constantly hydrated to make sure that if that does happen, it basically just passes through and I can call it a day. So that was my experience with the hospital. All the doctors were really nice. I didn't have any issues with them. It's just the hospital itself and the whole situation. And it basically cost me a small fortune for them to tell me, hey, chill out for a little bit. So Go America.